Hello everybody, welcome to Bass and Bonsai. Today we're doing a shootout video. Yep, we're doing a versus, comparing them, and we're doing it with this little dude right there. Now anybody tell you that is a 16th ounce, okay, or like, I think it's less than 2 grams, but that is a very little, small bait, very hard to cast with anything bait casting other than some of the higher end BFS reels, rod and reel combos. But today, we've got 3 challengers, and I'm throwing all 3 on this rod and throwing this little bait. That is one of the cheaper ones off Aliexpress. But I want to say Yozuri, the bean or something, is who I think originated this little bait and has been copied. Don't hold me to that 100%, but this is the one we're throwing. And it's going to be hard to throw. What are we throwing it with? Let me just take you down here and we'll take a quick look. Whoa, get out of there, B. Alright, as you can tell, I got everything organized real nice and neat in the boat here. And we got a fight where they got the sun getting ready to pop up over this tree, and it's going to be game over. It's going to be hotter than heck. So I'm up against the bank, literally. And we're going to cast out this way, okay? But here are our challengers. I just picked this reel up. Last night was the first time fishing with it. Check out that topwater video. Did another topwater video kind of head to head with this reel. Check out that one. I also did, when I very first got it, I kind of did a makeshift live cutting in and out nasty video, and I did a shootout between these two on the 522. So today we're on the water testing them out. Now this one has old braid, I believe it's 10. That is older, 10-pound braid I just stuck on there from another reel. The only disadvantage that the Aldebaran has, this is the Aldebaran BFS XG 2016 model, by the way, that is new 15-pound braid. But maybe the difference between new and 15 and 10 is not a huge difference, but I'm willing to put that thing up against the challenge and see which one will cast that the farthest and easiest overall. So you know the deal, guys. Buckle up, hang on, sit back and relax, get some popcorn. Let me get this one of these rigged up. We'll probably start with the cheap, I keep calling it cheap, it's an affordable reel. We'll probably start with this guy just to get a baseline on what your, I guess I'll start calling these high-end Aliexpress reels because they're the good quality ones from Aliexpress. Yeah, they're carbon frames, they're not going to last forever. I've added the clicker to that one, but the bearings in the spool and the spool itself is all stock. This is going to cast just like one if you went and bought it from Aliexpress for like $54. Something's jumping. We may catch a fish. Let's get it on. And voila, movie magic, got it tied right on that quick. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's just see what this reel, I should have it set. I may have to go 1 click tighter, but we're going to aim for that stump. That'll be kind of our basis to go by. Oh, dear Lord. Give me a minute. I got to get used to it. I let go way too late. Let's try that again. Okay, you guys see that? I'd call that about halfway, and we had a little bit of a backlash. This little bait I wouldn't use out here in big water anyway, so actually this reel is plenty capable. I actually fished this exact bait on the when me and Charles were at the little creek. And when you're creek fishing, you're talking, the creek isn't that far. So not quite halfway with the 16th ounce is about the most you're probably going to get. And I don't want to loosen this up anymore. It's set right on that edge anyway. I'll try to do a lob one. We got, oh, I had a fish too. Oh my goodness, I'm in the middle of a video in a moment. Let's have to get over here. As you can see, it's capable to fish with. Let's get one good cast and then switch. So yeah, I'm struggling to get, I'll get about halfway. That's about it with the 16th ounce. Which if I was at a small creek, that's plenty far enough. So let me switch and go to my tried and true, what I know works, and then we'll try the new one. And just like that, we got this one tied on. Aldebaran BFS XG 2016 model. Let's see what it'll do. Oh, it backlashes too. Let's try that again. That wind is not helping us. I'm throwing it up and then the wind's catching it. But that'll be good to see if as long as it stays just like that when we switch to the other one, what it does. Let's try a sidearm. Okay, so not a lot further, but this reel definitely handled it. I'm not getting any backlashes, so it tells me I could probably go a little bit lighter, which I didn't in the original shootout because I feel this one's set perfect for how I fish. So yeah, see, now I got more distance. So it's not 3/4 of the way, but I'm definitely getting, I would call it 3 to 5 foot over the, on average, 3 to 5 foot over the PW100 with the BFS XG. And we're not far from being 3/4 of the way. So it's, the more I sit and play with it, kind of like I tried to do with that PW, and I just kept getting backlashes. Now that's my first backlash with this one. It's like 3/4 is about as close as I can get. Which that right there, it's probably 5 foot over, I'm gonna go with 5 foot. So for the price difference, you know, do you guys justify that I can get 5 foot further with the Aldebaran and kind of easier like all the way around? I'm telling you, we're gonna catch a fish. So let's switch. While I can, before I lose my mind on these fish over here hitting. They're a little bitty though. And let's just see what the new reel does. Let's see if it's got the ability to just get this 16th on out there before the wind changes too much too. Now if it's anything like our testing that I did originally, it does cast. It's a little bit better. It was by like a foot or so over the Aldebaran. But this video we're talking about just the pure, you know, performance. But if you talk about overall what you look for in a BFS reel, is why I still said I picked the Aldebaran over this, because I don't gain that much performance. I gain an ounce in weight and no clicking audible drag with the alphas. Now if this thing, you know, shot this bait over to that stump, I may be able to justify that and say, yeah, it's well worth it, you know, getting it and then going and adding those other things and just dealing with the extra weight kind of thing. But it's kind of like, if it's only going to give me an extra foot and not a huge feel and difference as far as casting ease, you know, it's like I said, it's personal preference. Once you get into these higher, where there be the higher end BFS reels coming from Aliexpress, the $54 and higher ones, because there's $30 ones too that I don't recommend, or the $300+ you know, Japanese ones. It sort of just comes down to a matter of personal preference on which one you prefer over the other. They are all pretty close on performance. But let's see, this sucker should, let's see if it zings it out there or not. You ready? No, we got a backlash. I threw it too hard. I do have this set kind of light, but I'm gonna leave it light and try to get the feel for this bait on this rod. I'm gonna try an overhead one. And okay, so it's not letting me cast. I'm only at 4. And that's one thing I do love about this reel. I've talked about it every time I talk about this reel. That little clicker is awesome. I can see it without my glasses on. It clicks. I can tell what it's done. It feels more solid. I love that part about this reel. That part right there may make me like this reel overall enough to go get the clicking audible thing and not worry about the extra weight, just for the fact, the ease of that. Even though once I get one set, I tend to never even look at it and set it, change it again. But anyway, Okay, so that one click definitely changed it, but as you can see, the distance is right there, even pretty much with all of them. I'm gonna try to put a little more oomph into it now. No, backlashed, I put too much into it. There's a fine line of setting how hard you cast with where the drag's set. You know, if you've got a light drag, you've got to cast easy. If you've got that, you know, some guys will crank that drag a little tighter, but they're putting more force. There's a fish right there. Into each cast. So setting the drag, I can't really tell you, you know, set it on 4 and forget it when it comes to BFS. That is all on your casting. You know, and the bait and where you're casting, how you're doing it. But if you're the kind that gets out there and just rears back, you're going to have a lot more brakes set. You just are. That initial startup, like that. See, I need to go one more. So that is set at number 6. So I started at 4. Is what I've actually been throwing, is where I kind of liked it. And that's where throwing them poppers, it was fine. And when we were throwing the 2.1 gram, the crappie jig. Okay, so but now I'm out here on the water throwing this 16th ounce. I guess it has a little more air resistance over the crappie jig, so I'm trying to put a little more power into it. And it's not liking that setting on number 4. Let's try a good sidearm. Let's try to get a good. Okay, so with this bait, I honestly don't think I can tell the difference between it and my Aldebaran. I'm actually surprised that neither one of these can cast this little bait a lot further than, say, 5 feet past what the Aliexpress one does. All right, you guys tell me what you think. I don't know. It's very strange. Now, I got it set. I'm putting about everything I got into it. But the problem is, you've seen when I was set lighter, it tended to want to backlash. So let me lay one in. Let me put it on it. Nope. Then I backlash if I really throw hard. So it's close. It's right there. You know, that's a pretty free spool. So you guys can make that out. I mean, it's pretty free. The zero adjuster thing, I left it alone. So you guys tell me, what did I get from this video? And I hope you liked the video, by the way. But what did I get from it? That this reel really does not cast any better with this bait than my Aldebaran does. And what I also got from this video is that neither one of these, in my opinion, now I love them. I probably, you know, I'm gonna always be throwing this. I may go ahead and keep this one and use it. But it's just how 5 foot is the only difference I can get between these $300+ reels over this $54 reel. Because this is a lot lighter spool. So is that Aldebaran. Like, they are what's considered by a lot superior brakes, which I agree with that, and lighter spools. You know, given the whole cost of the reel aside, just that fact, you would think that, you know, this spool, which I'm sure has cheaper spool bearings and is a heavier overall spool, but only you gain just maybe 5 foot. But I guess you do gain an easier casting also. More accurate cast, because I can let go, you know, kind of where I need to let go. This reel does feel awesome. Like, it feels good. It feels like, you know, it's more of a freeness in casting. But that little bait, once you get it going, it's just like, it only goes so fast. You know, a little 16th ounce crankbait only generates so much speed, momentum, and slows down. Well, 6 or 7 is probably where you need it. 8 if you never want to backlash ever in your life, or 10. So yeah, hopefully you guys can make out the distances I'm getting. It's roughly right where I was with the Aldebaran. I don't know if I'm going to keep throwing this. I'm probably going to cut this off and rig up something else. I've got some time. It's only 11 a.m. So stay tuned for another video coming out of today's adventures. But anyway, guys, I hope you like this little shootout video. You comment below. You know, I'm not a Daiwa, Shimano, Abu Garcia, or truly Aliexpress huge fan. I pull in anything from wherever I feel there's a good buy. It's good quality stuff. This is still, especially after this shootout, and I guess I'll explain it real quick as I'm getting out of here. To me, this has what I want in BFS or in general bait casting gear. Small, compact, lightweight, clicking drag, capable of throwing, as you've seen. This one may beat it by a foot, who knows. It's hard to tell out there. They look like they're getting about the same distance. Both very awesome, capable reels. The pros and cons is basically what I'm going through here. The pro to this, honestly, the only pro for me, I like how small it is. I don't like the weight. It's an ounce heavier than the Aldebaran, so there's nothing new there. They're building a smaller, heavier reel because it's aluminum. The one thing that I take from this, I hope Daiwa sticks with, is that is an awesome. That's the best I've ever seen on any bait casting reel I've ever used. Overall, one of the best reels I've ever used, especially coming out of Daiwa as far as they're getting down to the size. They've made some awesome reels with these Tatula platforms, you know, this T-wing, which they named Tatula, which I wish they'd rename. But anyway, if it sticks, it's okay. But the as of right now, there's only 3 reels you can get in this size. I think every reel I think every reel that Daiwa comes out with in the future should be close to this size or even smaller. And I think that's the way of the future. Small, lightweight, compact reels, because this reel right here, this is also just an Aldebaran. It's an Aldebaran 50. It's the same frame, material, everything as the BFS XG. I have this on a 610 heavy. I use it for frogging, for ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce, rattle trap. I mean, you've heard the guys on Tactical Bassin talking about it. There's guys using these for, and I use it for everything, the heavy stuff. I don't crank the drag as tight as it'll go, but either 15 or 20 pound braid and a 15-pound leader, and I set that drag, you know, it'll handle big stuff. And it's a small, compact. I've talked about this one before. And so, you know, somebody's asking me, well, why are you so worried about that? Well, here's why. This is a 6'10" heavy. I shortened the butt a little bit. It's hard to see. I did a really good job on it, but I trimmed this up trying to get the shape the way I liked it. I didn't like the stock one. But what you can do, and what I did with this one, see where that balance point is? You see how it's almost right there. Like, I could add a little more weight, but that's perfect, because when I palm this is how I palm a reel. It's floating in my hand. It's actually a heavy setup. Now, how I did that was, and I want to say this whole thing still weighs under 10 ounces. I'm not 100%. Don't quote me on that. I have to reweigh it. But this is only like 4.5 or 7 ounces. And I think it's a little less, like 4.5 ounces. So say you got a 6.5 ounce or 7.5 ounce reel you put on here. Generally, it would give it a little more better balance than this. But with the 4.5, and I think I took about 2 ounces, the further you put the weight back, just like a pendulum, that's where everybody talks about leverage points. You actually give more leverage to a fish the longer your rod. I don't care what anybody says. You don't gain leverage by longer rod. Sorry, I don't know, argue that with anybody all day long. But when you take 2 ounces from here, which isn't going to help a lot, as you put weight out here, and you won't believe me, take a board at home, teeter-totters, all that, and extend something out and add the 2 ounces here as opposed to right here. You'll see that you get more of a tilt the further out that weight is. That's why when they're building rods, the smaller, lighter guides coming in doesn't let that rod feel as tip heavy. But what that gives me, since I added 2 ounces there, it's still basically the same weight as fishing with the 6.5 ounce or 7 ounce reel on a, you know, 6'10" heavy action rod. You know, they're still roughly the same weight. The difference is this thing like feels like it floats. It doesn't have that pull. Most of your, once you get into longer rods, especially heavier actions, you always have a pull feel, you know, they call it tip heavy, but it always feels like something's pulling down on you. So in my mind, and it may be total opposite, but in my mind, when I have that and I cast, and whether it be a worm fishing, I you know, I've used it for everything, but like if I'm sitting there and I'm just, it lets me not have a tight grip. Some people say you need that tight grip to feel a little, you know, littlest whatever. but nothing's pulling down. So the slightest, as long as that line's semi-tight, I wouldn't even know if it probably doesn't matter what line you're using. That extra little, when you just feel a little tink, it literally feels like something is pulling harder due to the fact that you're more balanced. You already don't have that downward feel. Does that make sense? That's why I want to use the lightest, smallest, most compact reel. I want to have it in my palm of my hands and, you know, be able to set the hook, and it just feels more of a control thing. And same thing with these. Once I get used to these single lifestyle handles, I always tend to stop here. Like this is where I pull. You know, I'm cranking on a fish and I never stop here. I come here and I almost use this, you know, grip on the knob to pull too, but I'm always back there. And if that sucker starts pulling and I wanted to loosen the drag, I have all this space free to just reach up and, you know, a couple clicks, however many. Whoa, maybe need to go way more. Whoa, go back to right where you were. And it just lets me, especially with BFS gear, all of that combined together, it makes fishing way more enjoyable for me. And that's Bass and Bonsai. All right, guys, get out of here. I'm long-winded, I know. Thanks for watching.